Welcome to the prologue. I'm Mike,
I'm Larry.
and we're here to answer some questions.
What's on the docket today, Mike?
Today, we're going to talk about skills.
Ah,
So we're not necessarily answering a question, but we're gonna put some things out there that we feel like are really important to keep working on for everybody.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're gonna do. We're gonna just. We could talk about this subject for like 5 days, but we want to keep it to 10 minutes, 10, 11 minutes, maybe 12. So we picked five subjects. What are the subjects, Mike?
So our subjects are eating on the bike, drinking on the bike, um, clipping in, cornering, and track stands. So, yeah.
That's five of a very long list that we could come up with, but we're gonna do our best to go through these quickly. So the first
Yeah.
one, eating on the bike. What are you thinking, Mike?
Man, it's first of all, it's really important and
Huge.
and with all the trickle down knowledge that we're getting from the pro tour land these days, like we know we can push it and push those numbers up and help people go faster, last longer. But man, if you can't do it, then you're definitely gonna get slowed down. And I know a lot of people are intimidated by reaching in the back pockets. Um, and so finding some ways either to like reach in the back pocket while you're riding, or let's work around this. Let's create a different type of movement and skill.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that comes from triathlon, but it works well, is the bento box,
Yeah.
little top tube bag.
Yep, I'm a big fan of it. There's a company out here that makes some really cool ones, lots of different patterns. So if you want to get wild with it, you can do that. Another thing I like, the newer bibs that have the cargo pockets on them, we call them gravel bibs or whatever you want to call them. That really helps because that's a pretty natural movement too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The cargo bibs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the I have a I have a burrito bag,
Hmm.
but it's got a waterproof zipper on it. So if you're gonna go with a burrito bag, the waterproof zipper is very hard to open and close. So
Yep.
keep that in mind. There's some companies that make a Velcro opening burrito bag.
Oh, nice.
Something like that would work.
Hmm.
Um, so that's three ways to overcome the challenge. But then it gets a little bit deeper because opening up a bar can be very difficult. Opening up a gel can be very difficult. Um, so a lot of times I will, in race situations, I almost always pre-tear my bars,
Hmm.
get them ready. So when I need them, I don't have to be futzing around with trying to get the wrapper open. And I'll start most of them. I don't do a lot of gels other than basically all I do is maple syrup.
Hmm.
So I'll either if I'm doing an untapped, or I think a number of people now have come out with different maple syrups. Um, that or what I typically use is a flask,
Uh,
little latex flask that I buy. My wife's French Canadian, so maple syrup's kind of a staple in our house. So we always have maple syrup around. So yeah, I,
yeah,
I we buy a lot of maple syrup at a time.
nice.
Not a little,
Yeah,
a lot.
I'm a big fan of the flask too because you fill it up at home and then you don't have these sticky wrappers in your jersey or your bibs or wherever in your bento box getting leftover gel on everything. Um, and it's way easier to open and control and yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So that's the eating on the bike.
Yep.
Drinking on the bike.
Yeah. Drinking on the bike, reaching down for some people can be a little intimidating, especially if you're in the group or it's windy or bouncy. Um, and definitely like on the mountain bike single track, it's really hard in a lot of situations. So, um, yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Um, for mountain biking, I almost exclusively run a bag, a hydration pack. Um, for for most of my longer gravel stuff, I almost always run a hydration bag as well. I think that they've come so far from back when I had the first generation Camelback that was this little foam thing with these little thin straps that were miserable.
Oh
And
yeah,
the Mike, do you remember that the hydration bag was huge?
it was 3 liters.
Oh,
Yeah,
and it was like always, it seemed like it was sloshing around and moving oh God, they were terrible.
yeah,
Not the case anymore. They are
no,
they are very good. And you can go, I mean, I think they make a 1 liter bag. I think somebody
yeah,
makes a 1 liter bag. I usually run a two,
hmm
but yeah,
you,
I think that is really the the best option that I can see. There are some other options, but I think that the hydration pack is probably the best.
yeah, they're super comfortable. There's a lot of different companies that make them. They definitely aren't sloshing around anymore. They're even easier to clean than they used to be.
Oh, yeah,
So,
way easier to clean.
yeah.
On that subject, I typically, um, to this day, I will run a mix in them for a race situation,
Mhm.
but I typically run just straight water just because I'm lazy. I'm lazy and I don't want to mess around with cleaning it every time. Um, yeah, the bags I run have a quick connect.
Mhm.
So if I don't use it all, I'll pull the bag out, hit the quick connect, and throw the bag back in the fridge. And they're good for, a few days anyway. I've never had an issue. Um, Even 3 or 4 days later, as long as it was cold the whole time, I haven't had a problem, even with some mix in the bag, as
Yeah.
long as they keep it cold.
Yeah. Minimum you can like just run some zero or low calorie electrolyte fluid in the bag and have no problems with biology experiments.
Yeah, I'm hoping that all of my biology experiences with with race food and with hydration, I'm hoping those are all behind me at this point. I don't want to have any more of those because those
Yeah.
bags I'm not cleaning out. I'm throwing them
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What's next on our list?
Track stands.
Track stands. Man, uh, I'm a big fan of track stand practice. I think for every discipline of cycling, it it is key. Um, and you know what? Like you can take that and start to work in like the eating and drinking piece too. And what we're going to talk about in a minute here as well with clipping in.
Yeah, I think to in you don't have to you don't have to start learning track stands at a complete stop. You can just roll slow and progressively get slower until the point that you can be stopped and balance on your bike.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Like, and having that balance on your bike, um, unless you're a track sprinter, it's kind of a stupid human trick, but um, but when you need it, you
But
know?
Mike, it's the foundation to so many other. If you can't do a track stand, there are so many other pieces of the puzzle that won't fit until you can at least maybe not even
Oh,
get to a complete stop.
yeah.
But if you can go slow, man, eh, switchbacks on the road, on on a gravel, on mountain bike, on everything. If you can still manipulate your bike when you're slow, it opens up so many other options for everything.
Yeah, that's completely true. Like it's just it's a foundational skill.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, clipping in.
Clipping in. So it's so stressful for a lot of people that I kind of definitely put it in this realm of a foundational skill because once you can do it well, it's uh it like it's not a skill of like balance or pedaling or anything. It's just some kinesthetic awareness of where your foot is in relation to the pedal.
Yeah, yeah. The and one of the important things about clipping in is even if you're not clipped in, you can still pedal. Um, I've got my last ride. I'm sure that I go through a number of gates where I have to get off my bike, climb through the gate, get back on. And my first couple pedal strokes, I'm rarely clipped in on both feet, but I start rolling right away. And then eventually I'll get it'll clip in.
Yeah,
And it doesn't because you're not clipped in doesn't mean you're stopped. You
right.
don't have to stop pedaling if you're not clipped in. You can still keep some force on the pedals and it'll find itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep moving those feet and you'll eventually get there and don't I think the biggest thing is don't panic.
Right. Right. I would love to tell you how many times that happened on my last ride. I it didn't even like I know it happened, but it doesn't even register anymore.
Yeah.
I don't stress about it at all because I know that it's going to go. Okay, next one. This is huge, 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 huge. Cornering.
Man. We were talking about this before and I said I could talk about cornering for an hour. I'd probably talk about cornering for 2 or 3 hours.
I
Just
think we could
cornering.
do a day on
Yeah.
it.
It is huge. It's it is one, it's free speed. Two, it's a like if you can do it well, your level of confidence to do any other skill is is significantly higher. Um, and uh, and again, one of those skills that like you have to do it in basically every cycling discipline. And if you can do it well, it pays off.
It's huge. Yeah, I know a lot of people aren't going to be comfortable with it, but like with road and gravel, unless you're going really fast and turning really hard, you can probably pedal through the corner. The chances of you clipping your pedal are, you've got to be pretty good at cornering in general to be to be at a place where you're going to pedal hard, you're going to be able to pedal through the corner hard enough and you're going fast enough where you have any possibility to clip your pedal. So I would say that for most people, you're probably going to be okay pedaling through the corners. Um, just coast the like on a motorcycle. If you're coming through a corner and you get off the gas, the chances of you slipping out are a little bit more than if you're putting a
Yeah,
little power down.
absolutely. Yep. Um,
And the
there's,
people that are slowing down, they go
yep.
away.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of like separate skills associated with cornering, but I think the biggest thing people can do is just go out and practice and get, you know, you set up a little series of cones and just practice and do different things and you'll like exponentially see yourself get better and go faster.
And the confidence level, if you're not freaked out every time you're going through a corner,
Ah,
it's incalculable. You cannot even calculate what that does to someone's confidence when they can go through a corner. The stress comes down so much.
yeah.
Riding bike becomes really fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then when you do have a little problem, you know, it's not a huge issue. Like, oh, you got a little wider or you were coming in a little hot. Okay. You you just figured out how to fix that problem with a fraction of the energy that it took before you developed this skill.
Right. And in the you go into a corner and things go sideways. If you don't panic, the best thing is to not panic. Because if you panic, that's when things go south, and we don't
Yep.
want that. Like
Nope.
I can tell you this, in my mountain bike racing days, in my mountain bike riding days, I I go into a corner and I expect that I'm going to drift out. I'm going to drift.
Hmm.
I'm going to maybe sometimes you don't feel it. Sometimes you feel it a lot. But by not panicking, it becomes just second nature to you. And gravel right in on all the gravel I've done, same thing. I know that if I'm pushing it, it's gonna get a little squirrely, but it's predictable.
Hmm.
And just know that if you feel a little move, it's not the end of the world. If you just don't panic, you're gonna come through it.
Yeah. Yep.
All righty.
Cool.
We got through our five.
Yeah. So, thanks
Awesome.
for tuning in today. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Larry.
And I'm Mike. This has been the prologue.